She gets to scratch my insurance and go boo, through the roof. You spoke differently back there. Hmm? With Dawes, you spoke like he did. It seemed like I copied his accent. You seemed to mirror his effect, his tone. It's actually being friendly. What's your point? It was just an observation. You can choose to keep those to yourself, you know. No tenant required. Why were you so concerned about registering me in the first place, Adonia? For the same reason I wouldn't drive around in a car without a license plate. Any cop or even just a well-placed camera could have spotted your barcode and seen that it wasn't set up with any actual data. And then they would have arrested me, and then they would have thrown me in the slammer? No, they would have arrested me and put you in an evidence locker. An android can't get arrested? People get arrested. Property gets seized. And then smashed. Great, you put us over the weight limit. I did no such... Automated with Morgan Counsel, your presence has been requested on the upper floors. Who's asking? Vice President of Android Futures, Helen Jung. Shouldn't have assumed I'd still had the opening move. Tell her I'll be right there. I'll redirect your elevator now. Taking control of your elevator is very convenient, forceful, very forceful, as if Noble is trying to directly steer your investigation. If Noble wanted to shut me down, they wouldn't bother to be subtle. I suppose they could simply refuse to cooperate, or just let the elevator drop. Ooh, yeah, I guess there could be a malfunction. Which, if I'm correct, just doesn't happen. They don't have just malfunctions. Man, this is a long day. Noble Electronics Northeastern HQ. Executive Office, Jung. Please tell me this is going to disappear. Or are they holding it there for dramatic effect? Hello, Miss Jung. Hello. Right. Speaking first is a sign of weakness. It is. And here I thought I could avoid wading into the swamp of corporate pretend power dynamics. Speak first. I'm already gonna save again. I know I just saved, but I gotta. See what happens if I let her stew. Silence is only awkward if you care. I can ignore social cues all day long. I always liked this time of day. Got her. Not too muggy for you. No, I never liked a clear blue sky. It always seemed cold to me. I like her design. I like her hair. You're in luck. The skies gets more colorful every year as the air quality drops. Childish, isn't it? Marveling at the small... Oh, hello! Marveling at the small sheen of a rainbow dancing on the surface of a massive oil spill. Apologies for the waxing poetic. It's been a very unusual 24 hours around here. Dr. Jung? Just Miss is fine. Miss Jung. I get the feeling you didn't bring me up here to talk about the weather. No, I brought you up here to express my condolences. I'm very sorry for your loss. Thank you, though I could say the same. I know you and David worked together for many years. Yes, we did, but as much as I'd like to just drop everything in process, the company's wheels don't stop spinning for anything. Dang, that just sucks. Or anyone. Was Dawes of any help? He sent him trying to be helpful or just trying to control the narrative. He was great. But that must mean you know why I'm here. I don't want to make assumptions. No need. I'll be explicit. I'm here as an officer of the court, which means I'm bound by law to document every rock I turn over. And every person I speak to. Yes, the lawyers made that all very clear. Lawyers? You have an android? It's not one of yours? You can tell that quickly. I got all the faces memorized. It's easy enough to remember the major archetypes we use, yes.
Hey, dudes. Come here. Come here. I need to put you in a timeout, mister.
If you're nuts about your work, maybe. Sorry, my cats were fighting, if you heard that in the background.
Here, Coco. What do you do, sweetie pie? How are you? Very good girl.
It's a recent acquisition, very recent in fact. One of David's last requests, apparently. David asked you to take it? Those eyes are very, angry. I've been told that you've been to David's estate already. Police gave me full access to the scene. And you know that he wasn't alone that last night. Yes, there was a single witness who met with him and called emergency services when he fainted. I was that witness. Really? Obviously. There aren't that many people David would bother meeting with in person. Alona, welcome in the house, offering them a drink. I also knew that Jung is his superior on paper, though not in fame. And I knew that the witness had Executive Plan 3 insurance, so they had to be higher up than David. Well then, do your lawyers know we're having this conversation? Of course. They're pulling their hair out about it as we speak. I can't imagine why. The police cleared you. And you were well within your rights to ask for some privacy given the high-profile nature of it. All that's happened. So why call me up here? Why cut through all the red tape your lawyers painstakingly hid you behind? Eventually you, or some clever lawyer like you, would get the record opened. Through legal means or otherwise. The company enemies are legion, and they have a prying knife for every occasion. Yeah, true. Still, that would have taken time. Time you could have used to get ahead of what could be the biggest PR hurdle Noble's ever seen. Touché. And so perhaps the truth of the matter is I simply didn't want to hide. David was my colleague for several years. If I were in your shoes, I would have questions as well. You're doing this for my sake? No, my reasons are purely selfish. I'm only hoping that talking to someone whose job isn't to defend me from all consequences might prove therapeutic. She wants to play confessional, that's fine by me, but is that really all that's going on here? Why don't you start from the beginning then? Oh, we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty here. I got more evidence. Water glass. A glass of water found in the sink of David Assure's kitchen bears Helen Jung's DNA and fingerprints. No tracing of poison. Helen Jung. December 9th. She's the exact same height as me. 59 kg. Pretty light. A, B positive. VP of Android Futures of Noble Electronics. Likes red meat, flowery gardens. I like the gardens. High thread count. Oh, for her fabrics. That makes sense. Dislikes working from home. Why? Shopping online. Why? Waiting. The last one I can understand. Language is fluent in 3. I assume your name is Jung, so maybe Chinese or Japanese or Korean, depending on the translation of what I'm presuming Jung came from. And then English. And maybe American English. Getting children to stop crying. She has a hidden talent for that? Attends baseball games? Interesting. Not something I would expect. Start from the beginning. You went to his home last night. Yes, around 7:30 p.m. The building's penumbra captured all that quite clearly. He fell ill around 8 p.m., so you spent half an hour together. Why the late call in person? We had an intense discussion yesterday afternoon. David never came in on Saturdays, and I didn't want to spend the weekend glaring at him through screens, so I visited and he let me in and we talked. About the good old days, if you can believe that. Back when we were both new to the company, eager to make a name for ourselves. How long ago was that? 7 or 8 years ago. Miss Young. Putting a number on it, it doesn't sound that long ago, but it feels... We spent a while like that, just talking. He was lively and sharp, and I never would have thought that a few minutes later, he would be dead. That he would commit... in front of me, a firm reply. What happened? 8:15, he said he wanted a toast. He got up, walked back into his workshop, and then he must have went down into his basement to get us a bottle. I checked some messages in the meantime, enjoyed the view. In other words, she stayed on camera. He came back with a bottle of whiskey and 2 cups. We drank and talked. He got quieter, spoke less. I thought he was just getting drunk. I didn't get worried until he started to fall asleep. You tried to wake him. He wasn't responsive. I tried to shake him awake, but he didn't seem... I left him and ran to the kitchen, used the security system. Didn't think to use your phone? No. I suppose I didn't. But it worked out. The Penumbra's emergency protocol summoned a VTOL straight to his helipad within 1 button press. When I returned to the parlor, he was limp. I moved him to the floor as delicately as I could. He had a heartbeat, but I just did what I could until they arrived. You went with him to the hospital, I take it? Yes, they insisted. They checked my vitals and ran a tox screen, which came back clean. So did David's, for all that good it did him. I wasn't paying close attention to what they were saying at that point, but I'm sure they ran through every step of the CCE SOP. That's what they were paid to do. You seem certain that it was a... Yes. Why? As I said, he got quieter as the time passed, and he was spokeless. But the last thing he said to me, the last clear thing he said was that he was happy ending it here. He said he was content. He downed his glass after that. He drank every last drop. Does that sound like David Assure to you? Curious. Restless. Perfectionist. David. No, I guess it doesn't. Whoo! We have a troll of things to talk about. We'll go with Sarah last. The Animate 16. The A16 only entered production this year, correct? Correct. Pre-orders started last holiday and we began shipping in the first quarter. I understand that you were instrumental in the success of the Warm Androids. I played my part supervising the launch, yes. Weren't you the one who designed the Cianatonin, the factory that enabled communication between synthetic and organic parts? I'm surprised you've heard that. I did lead the project, yes. But that was years ago. And at the time, Cianatonin was little more than a novelty, a dead end. It wasn't until David took the reins on the A16 that we found a use for it. Took the reins. He was lead programmer on limb coordination, facial expression, exhaustion parameters. He designed the synthetic nerves that made all that possible. David did all that? It's a lot more than just programming. He was always so gifted in that many fields. Did he fill those roles on the A14 and 15? No. He used to stick steadfast to his role as software architect. That was his field of expertise, and he didn't wander far. But 2 or 3 years back, he started sitting in on other departments, taking notes. Soon he was joining discussions and proposing new ideas. And eventually he came to the following his lead. Just like that. Just like that. So he just applied himself and soon he was leading other departments? The kind of genius the director sure was. Maybe they weren't paying him enough. The company profited the most, of course, but the entire industry benefited from his vision and leadership. His loss will be felt for years. Decades, even. The CCE. You said the CEC. Did I get anything new, by the way? No. You said the CCE, Standard Operating Procedure, a moment ago. What is that? The CCE stands for the Counter Corporation Espionage, which is just industrial doublespeak for corporate espionage, only used in self-defense, you understand. So Noble anticipated employees at your level getting poisoned. They give us all kinds of CCE training. Subtly, of course, usually disguised as the itinerary as leadership workshops or physiatric evaluations. They train you to expect to get murdered at these leadership workshops. Murder is fairly rare at our level. More likely, they just want us too sick to work. Let us drain company resources and hospital beds while our position sits vacant. Smart, like a sniper's purposefully avoiding vital areas to strain the enemy's medical resources. That's terrible. Like a sniper purposefully avoiding vital areas in order to strain the enemy's medical resources. It's nothing compared to when they want to turn an asset. Feel ill for the rest of your life with an undiagnosed malady. Or become one mole and we'll send you the antidote every 2 weeks. It's a nasty piece of work. It's a nasty line of work, consulting. I'm sorry. It's just what they call it. Can't exactly put corporate spies on your CV. So every consultant I've met at a cocktail party was actually, it depends, did they say they're consultants? Or did they say they were in consulting? How the hell am I supposed to remember? So do your people think that what happened to David was a deliberate attack? Noble's competitors have been trying to get to David for years. And that's the time scale their plan operates on. And this was an attack from a rival corporation, the company would have had seen it coming. And they'd probably have struck first. The cups. I've been curious about this ever since I saw the scene. Why the plastic cups? There's a story there. David and I got hired around the same time under similar circumstances. Of course. Headhunted while finishing our high education. During recruiting, the company claimed that wanted us badly, but in practice our actual authority was inexperienced and overpaid. You must have been extremely unpopular. You don't mince words. We didn't either back then. We were loudly trying to convince our superiors that their entire sales model for androids was adequate and self-defeating. The two of them made the one-point doctrine. That's not the story I've heard in Noble's commercials and Noble's sponsored media. Come to think of it, it's not a story I ever heard from David himself. We had this deadline self-imposed, but still a deadline. We wanted to get our pitch to the president of international sales by the end of the day. 7 p.m. rolls around. Evidence. The CCE. Sweet. That's gonna come in handy later. But, saving. Rolls around and people start filtering out. David still has his mind buried in his diagrams and sales figures. Imagine a technical man like him, a programmer, trying to make a sales pitch. The clock hits 9, and even the zombies start heading home. I turn to David, tell him that it's not gonna happen. We're nowhere near finished, and the day's long since been over. He looks at me like I'm the only other person on a sinking boat, and I've just stopped pitching water, and he says, "The president lives on the other side of the globe. We've still got all night until his end of day." We wrapped up at 4 in the morning, just us and the cleaning staff back then. Only half of them were ads. He finally sends the message, and I'm ready to collapse. I've got nothing. We started blankly at his inbox for the next 40 minutes, hoping the harsh light would give us the energy to work through the next day. We got a response. It wasn't long, but it showed he was interested. That's all you need. I had been turned down so many times before then. Ignored and placided, passed up and ghosted. But together, David and I were finally gotten a win. So David asked if I'd got anything to drink. I've got a bottle of some swilly in a cabinet at my desk, but he doesn't want to drink from the bottle, so he wants to toast. So we sat there at 5:19 in the morning, toasting awful vodka in one another's cups we grabbed from the break room. Red Solo cups, baby, always a treat. Toasting our first victory against the corporate beast. Between the lack of sleep and the drinking, the next day at work was hell. Sounds like a good memory. Plastic cups and liquor was our little ritual. More evidence. Jung's story. This will come in handy later as well. So I didn't think twice when he presented me with my cup. Anything else? Oh, again, Jung's cup. It was ceremony for us. History with Noble. As VP of Android Futures, you're David's superior, aren't you? That's correct. Did you join the company around the same time? David was always more interested in his work than he was in climbing the ladder. He didn't like playing the corporate politics game. So was he unpopular around here? Not unpopular, no. Not the great David assured. Misunderstood, perhaps. How so? He could be blunt, demanding, some might say. He wasn't trying to be. It's just, not everyone could work at the same pace he did for as long as he did. Even with the whole company huffing those inhalers, they couldn't keep up with David. Speaking of which, I don't see any at Jung's desk. Maybe it's just not something you leave out in the open at her level. Did that mean something? No. So you would say that his work-life balance was... Balance implies that the two are two odds with one another. We use work-life harmony here at the company. Fascinating. So, was he in harmony? No, David was always had plenty of suitors, but he was never willing to put the time in. But I'm sure you're more knowledgeable than I am on that subject. Right. What do you mean? Oh. I had to help him draft a lot of apology notes over the years for misunderstandings and double bookings. Scandalous. Sarah. So this android, Sarah. Even Dawes couldn't find any real details on where it came from. Not in any of our systems? I'm afraid not. Did Dave ever talk to you or anyone else at the company about a pet project? Pet? No, he never gave me any indication like that. And if he didn't talk to me about it, I seriously doubt he confided in anyone else at the company. David didn't trust anyone higher on the chain than himself, anyone below him. Frankly, they couldn't possibly hope to give him advice. He never mentioned me? No, never. Androids don't come cheap. You never heard about him requesting parts or resources? There were never any discrepancies with his company credit card. The company accountants are mirthless even by industry standards. They wouldn't humor anybody. Not even David Assure. If they had ever detected financial discrepancies, they would have been an upward loud enough you could hear it in the mailroom. You have a mailroom? Not since the 30s, just a figure of speech. Oh no, she wanted to see the physical mail so bad. He couldn't have taken resources from the company without leaving a record. But no one would deny David Assure's information. He would have been able to obtain all the necessary data to build his own android. Then, with enough time and money, he could privately purchase the raw materials himself. I don't understand it. It must have taken him years to build Sarah. He wasn't doing anything illegal. Except the hacking stuff. So why keep it a secret? I don't know. But he was private, and a perfectionist. Perhaps he simply wasn't proud of his result. Could be. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. Jones' statement made the police cooperate by security footage. Jen arrived at 7:30 p.m. Lethargic? Yep, that all checks out. It's been a difficult day for you. A difficult day for us all. A message from Fran. Oh, wonders, I'm running out of leads to chase. This brat better have good news. Are you really going to take this to court? That's my plan. The circumstances may be irregular, but I'm still defending a client from criminal charges. It's my responsibility to argue that he's not guilty what he's been accused of. And is that what you believe? That he didn't commit? I guess I haven't decided what I believe. It's so interesting that this stays on the screen now. I wasn't doing that earlier.